It's time for Baseball Nuggets with Mike Bassett.
All right, so before I get to a little bit of Ranger news and some kind of current news around baseball, I'd like to tell everybody I cried this morning.
Oh, is everything okay?
Everything is good. They were happy tears. I woke up, and on my YouTube feed was just a picture of the Rangers in Arizona with their championship shirts on, taking the picture after beating the Diamondbacks in Game 5. And what it said was, it's about 12 minutes, and it was just all the home runs and then major defensive plays that were made or closing out a series, the final pitch of kind of each series to win that series and then ultimately win the World Series. And it was just a blast. It got me so ready for baseball. Tomorrow is Fan Fest. Tonight is the awards dinner.
Yeah.
Which I believe those tickets are sold out. I don't know about Fan Fest, if there's tickets available or not. Go to TexasRangers.com. Maybe there is tickets, but I mean, everybody's going to be there tomorrow. The Fan is actually going to be there tomorrow, too.
Yes, actually, I'm really glad that you said that, because we're going to be stacked with interviews tomorrow on The Fan at FanFest with Will and Jake. Ian Kinsler is going to be on 11, Kamar Rocker at 11:40, Cody Bradford at noon, Jared Sandler at noon 20, Bruce Bochy at 1:40, and Pudge at 2 o'clock. I know there's a lot I just threw at you. So basically, just listen that whole time, and you'll get tons of fun Rangers content.
I love it.
But I don't know about you guys. I don't know when the emotions wear off. We're just a little over a year from the Rangers winning the World Series. Now, it's about to be a new year. I'm interviewing Chris Young tomorrow at 10 a.m. at FanFest, and I know Chris Young.
Are you pumped about that?
I am. And I know that Chris Young will be like, that was 2023. Not only was that 2023, we played 2024, disappointed. This is about 2025. But as a fan of the team, I still got emotional seeing that Corey Seager home run. Now, there are multiple home runs he hit. There's plenty of highlights of Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia hitting home runs in the playoffs.
When you say the Corey Seager home run, you know you mean the game-tying, fist-pumping, home run.
You think of the moment, and then you see where the ball went. I don't know. I think it was like 440-something feet. It looked like it was 500 feet. It looked like it was going into, which has never happened there, even with metal bats in high school home run derby. It looked like it was going in the upper deck. But that moment still brought me to happy tears. And then they continue, because what happens after that big highlight moment? They show the next home run in Rangers playoff history in 2023, and they show Adolis Garcia getting now, I believe it was the 11th inning, I think, if I have my innings right.
Because he had an opportunity after Seager, right? And then they had to go into extra innings, and then he got that.
It wasn't dramatic enough for him just quite yet.
And that was very, just like that Minnesota Twins game we saw middle of the season where he had struck out a bunch during the game. It was like, I got this guy.
So here's my question. It doesn't have to be baseball related. Can you watch a moment in history of sports that you would still cry? Like, I know this is tough to answer. I didn't know I was going to cry this morning. Like, I was like, oh, let me just watch this. This will just get me pumped up for Fan Fest and tonight for the award ceremony. I had no clue that I was going to start crying happy tears again this morning.
So some of it's where you are in your life. Like for that Rangers win, it'll always be important because it never happened. But the other one that I think of absolutely, it was just because I can remember everything about it. And every time it comes on, it hits me in the feels and I have to watch it. It was the East Regional Final in 1992 where Duke beat Kentucky. And I remember my mom telling me, because Kentucky had taken the lead, 2.1 seconds left. And she goes, well, they can't win every year. And at this point, I'm like 11 or whatever, and I'm like, oh, man, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in sports. Because that's you don't know, like, get ready for life.
But at least Mashburn's going to play for the Mavs.
Yeah, exactly. And then they made the shot, and I remember running in circles around my house, and then, like, everybody I knew was, all my friends were calling me, like, still on the landline. And it was just amazing because you were like, oh, my God, can you hold on just a second? Oh, my God. And so, like, that moment reminds me of it because I can feel all of that kid excitement.
Yeah, it is Dirk winning that title, disappearing emotionally. At the time, I didn't cry. When I was doing it, because I was working at Channel 33 and I was editing, so I was having to put together a sports package. but I'm just sitting there by myself in the studio because all the other anchors were on TV at the time, and I'm the only person left. I'm the editor, and I'm just sitting there watching this happen like, oh my gosh, this happened. I'm celebrating with nobody, and then I had work to do. But then years later, as I've gone back and watched it, just the emotion that we know Dirk had to go through, everything he went through to get to that point always gets to me because you're watching that man walk away from the court so he can have a private moment. And man, one of the greatest things he said after they won the Western Conference Finals was he threw that thing in the laundry because he was like, I got one of those. I want to get this next one.
Yeah.
It's still really emotional for me.
Alec, real quick, do you have a moment that will still bring you to tears watching a moment in sports that has happened?
I think for a lot of us, too, while he gets ready for that, I think the parade is always going to play a part in that as well. I'm sorry if I just stepped on your answer, Alec.
No, I think it's kind of a combo. Like, I remember the exact feeling watching the Rangers close out the World Series because I've talked about it before with the Mavs championship in 11. I was only 10, so I still didn't really grasp what was going on. But going to the parade, I think it was really the moment. There was 2 moments at the parade where it kind of hit me in the feels. One, when Bassick walked up, I said hi to Mike. He didn't say a word. He just gives me a massive bear hug. And then Eric Nadel did the exact same thing. That was when it kind of hit me like, dang, this is real.
Because we were all in the same space of, I have seen this team be terrible for so long. And it's a weird space right now because if you think about it, in the last 8 years, the Rangers have had 7 losing seasons and then they won the World Series.
Yeah.
That's a weird combination. And if this is the only baseball team, Major League Baseball team I've ever rooted for. And it felt like all together, we all did it. So that's when you go back to Eric's call. It was so perfect. And it felt like it included all of us that had given up every Tuesday night for just your whatever August baseball game. You're like, we got to win this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now on to current Texas Rangers news. Watching those highlights, and I believe if I have this right, Tampa, Baltimore, and Houston. The person to make the last pitch for the Rangers in those series was Jose Leclerc. Remember, he's still a free agent, but it's looking like he will not come back to the Texas Rangers. Bleacher Report is speculating that Leclerc might have a 1-year deal from the St. Louis Cardinals. So it doesn't mean it doesn't have money. It doesn't have that it's a done deal, but it's looking like the Rangers have added 5 new relievers. You're probably going to carry 8. You could, if you did go to a 6-man rotation, you'd carry 7. But if you know that you have 5 new relievers, and then you do have maybe a couple young guys that you want to compete for the last couple spots, and I'm still praying that Kirby Yates is brought back. I was thinking,
are you going to ask CY about that?
Probably not there. That's a good question. That's a great radio question. I don't know what Fan Fest, if it's great to start going, hey, you don't have a closer.
Gotcha.
He pretty much said, on Foul Territory just a week ago, he said, we don't have a closer.
Yeah.
And he pretty much said, I don't want Chris Martin closing games, and I don't want Robert Garcia closing games. But right now, those are our 2 options that we think are our options to close games. So that being said, I was thinking about after these highlights, I was literally going, gosh, Jose Leclerc is still out there, and I don't want him closing games either. And I don't think the Rangers want him closing games. Even though he did it in the playoffs, I think that I was like, gosh, adding Jose Leclerc to this pen wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if I have him in the 6th and 7th inning. That's a really good role for him. And the Cardinals have one of the best. I'm sorry, Hensley. I might be drawing a blank. It might be Ryan Hensley. My brain's not working great on the St. Louis Cardinals closer, but I do believe they have one of the better ones in baseball. So if Leclerc goes to the Cardinals, he has spent his whole career with the Texas Rangers. He is one of those developed Texas Rangers that made it and had an impact in Rangers history in a positive way. But it looks like he might be reaching a deal with the Cardinals. I did the tease that way just to scare the crap out of Ranger fans. It's not Kirby Yates.
It works.
I do not see yet.
It works on me.
I don't see any rumor that Kirby Yates is about to sign or has a major offer from another team, which I think is good news. Now I did
see the Blue Jays just got $2 million in international money because they made a little trade.
Oh,
I don't know if that's a legitimate thing
for Suzuki,
and they're pushed for Suzuki, but something like that just went down.
I mean, in a way,
that's interesting.
I'm not a Dodger hater. Love Dave Roberts, but I kind of at this point I'm like, all right, it's starting. It would kind of be piling on.
Yes.
If they get Sasaki, they got Ohtani. It's just kind of like, all right, enough is enough. Like let other teams like have some of the talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you got the best player in the world. You have somebody who is not too far off of the best player in the world, Mookie Betts. You're the defending champion. Hey, go ahead and pick up like the most desired pitcher since Yu Darvish. Oh, great. That's fair.
Yeah, we can add that to the mix.
Well, with the international spending happening, that was 2 days ago where it opened up. The Rangers didn't get Gretel, but they got Hansel.
They did.
What you've done
That's
there.
good.
Do you like that one?
That's good.
I thought about that.
I'm starting to think there was no Gretel.
Good 10 minutes.
I don't think there's a Gretel.
I don't think there is a Gretel
There's
Ramirez.
definitely an oven, though.
Hansel Ramirez is the guy the Rangers got. Like, that's the one that they were like, yes, we did it. If you're thinking about, hey, did we get a dude that had all 30 teams in on him? They did. Who is Hansel Ramirez? Well, you might remember his dad, Hanley Ramirez. Hanley actually was going to be part of a trade to the Rangers. It was going to be, at the time, he was with the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox were going to send Manny Ramirez and Hanley Ramirez to the Texas Rangers for Alex Rodriguez.
I do remember that.
That deal got nixed, and then I would say a few days later, or hours later, I don't know the exact timeline, then Alex Rodriguez got sent to the New York Yankees. And the Rangers got Alfonso Soriano and some other pieces, but that was the main deal. But Hanley Ramirez was almost a Texas Ranger. And I'm going to tell you, in 2007, if you were to say, who are the best hitters in the National League?
Yeah, I agree.
I'd say one, Albert Pujols. And then I would say second at that time, Hanley Ramirez.
I remember being at the winter meetings here in Dallas when he signed his big contract, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the best hitting shortstop we've ever seen.
Now, I understand that his career did not end up being a Hall of Fame career. It was just a few-time All-Star career, but there was a small time in history where Hanley Ramirez was arguably one of the 5 best hitters in baseball. It was for a small amount of time, but the Rangers get Hansel Ramirez. They're very excited about it. He's only 17 years old. So it's probably going to take 3 or 4 years if everything works out.
I gotcha.
For him to then make an impact. I believe they have him listed as a third baseman. I know that they do, but at 17 years old, it's tough to say, I know the position he's going to play. Even when it comes to Sebastian Walcott, who I can't wait to see in spring training when we get there, to see his development. They're still keeping him at shortstop. He's probably going to be the AA shortstop, but they still don't know. He's 18 years old. They still don't know. He's 18 or not. He might be 19 now, but I think he might still be 18.
Is there a player that you can think of, like, along your baseball trajectory that everybody knew that kid was going to stay put at that position? Like, maybe you saw him
that was super young?
Yeah, that you saw in an All-Star game or whatever.
When I was with the Mets, Jose Reyes.
Okay.
Jose Reyes does fall into the Hanley Ramirez category, too. Yeah. Of, like, this dude was a super stud. So sometimes when we think, nothing against Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt Jr., I think those dudes are going to be multi-time All-Stars and probably Hall of Famers. But so was Jose Ramirez at 19 years old when he made his debut and was awesome and had some really nice years in Major League Baseball. But it's tough to have that on him. I wasn't around. We were kids when Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, another dude I'm drawn. Justin Upton, number 1 overall pick, 19 years old, makes the major leagues with Arizona. And I always felt like it can be bad when you have that much expectations, because it was like for Justin Upton, he was hitting 25 to 33 home runs a year, about 75 to 100 RBIs, about a 270 batting average consistently. He's like, he stinks. And you're like, think about that. Consistently 270, right around 30 home runs, right around 80 RBIs. This dude stinks. But he was the number 1 overall pick. And then when you're projected to be the next face of baseball, and you're not, that becomes very tough, and people just kind of put you down. And you're like, he's really good. He's just not a Hall of Famer. He's just not a perennial all-star. Yeah. And so there's that. I think you asked a good question. It just comes down to, like, I can remember guys that going into the Hanley Ramirez category were like, in my time, very good baseball player. But just remember this, people collecting cards at the Dallas Card Show or at FanFest, there's plenty of people that are highly thought of during their career and then are totally forgotten about after they retire.